Hi, I'm Joseph Crudup, and welcome to my storybook. Today, I will read this book for the final chapter called How to Fight Racism. Last time I had read chapter 9 in this book, and here's the final chapter of this book here for the day. Chapter 10. How to Abandon Life to Racial Justice. Although I grew up in the Midwest, I spent my entire adult life in the Deep South, mainly in the Mississippi River Delta. I try not to draw stark lines between the South and other parts of the country because racism transcends religions, but geography, the racial geography of the South does stand out. Many of the battles of the Civil War were fought there. The South was the main deal in which the civil rights movement was waged. As such, these lands carry within them the voices of the ancestors. In Mississippi alone, I had a culture, the legacies of Freeman Lou Hammer, Mango Evers, James Milton, and A.N.R.B. Wells, just to name a few, living alongside the cotton fields when my forebears shared carpet or were aided slavery. Personality meeting civil rights leaders or those who knew them, and learning about the long history of fighting against racism instilled in me a sense of deep resolve to continue in the transition of racial justice activities. Everything. As I look to my ancestors, whose opportunities were far more limited than mine, but who fought and persevered nonetheless, I cannot help but commit my very life to continuing their struggle. Fighting racism does not consist of a set of isolation actions that you take. Rather, these actions must flow for the entire disposition that is obedient towards racial justice. We have to reposture ourselves spiritually, emotionally, culturally, intellectually, and publicly to address the million primary ways that racism manifests in the present day. Racial justice is a lifestyle, not an agenda. This chapter details the personal dimension of the commitment portrait of the RARC of racial justice. It outlines the ways an individual can win his life towards racial justice. Fighting for racial justice entails a daily combat with yourself and others who do this work, never to quit when it gets hand or inconvenient. It is in the community to living in such a way that your entire life is a witness of racial justice. It is difficult to live righteousness when it comes to race, but in doing so, you are creating a legacy. Or living your life in this way is about having to shape your scholarship into one that might be more equitable just today as well as for the generations that follow. It is about being a good ancestor. Ancestral understanding. Council content. Content is a poison pill of racial justice. And this broader understanding of poison pill leads to feelings of superiority or inferiority. People who act in racist ways can treat people of color with contempt, believing that others are somehow less capable and more prone to error than they are. On the other side, racial justice advocates can quickly become contemporaries or those they view as racist and view themselves as superior because of their element darkness, while on the, while on, while one side has heavier beliefs about race than the other. Content is never the answer. Dr. John Gottman, one of the foremost expressions of memory of the religions and relationships, contends that content arises from a sense of superiority over one's partner. It is a form of disrespect. Forms of content including scandalous, sacrilege, name selling, eye rolling, marketing, and violence in a marriage. Godman's resource has found content is the number one fidelity of divorce. The damaging effects of contents and apply not only to marriages but to racial justice as well. We must consistently check our hearts to ensure that we are not demonstrating content for others. The temptation to lock down on others because of their backward views of race and diversity easily descends into disdain and heartlessness, feelings of content and dishonorize other people and cause us to replacing the hate we wish to eradicate. So to make racial justice a lifelong pursuit, we must consistently battle against any feelings or content we have toward other people. Have this mind among yourselves. According to a popular tale, the Times newspaper in London asked adult authors, "What's wrong with the war?" Famous author G.K. Chesterton responded, "Dear souls, I am. Charlatan suggestion but pity and so days and the current today because it ordinarily is a prideful truth. We are all part of the problem." Philippians chapter 2 verse 3 to 4 says, "Do nothing out of selfish, subordinate to know, or vain conceit, revel in humanity, value others above themselves, not looking to their own interests, but equally to the interests of the others." This is the mindset we must have as we pursue racial justice as a way of life, and not simply a practice in isolation actions. Fighting racism is ultimately about serving other people from a wide spring of love. A spirit of love and service has to be enforced with a spirit of humanity that puts the interests of others before our own. To pursue racial justice, the critical attitude we must cultivate is humility. To listen and learn, yes, but also to admit that we, too, can act in racist ways. We must have the humanity to realize that, in some cases, we have benefited from the racial status quo. White people must recognize with humanity that, although life can be difficult for anyone, their skin color has not added to their hardships. People of color must recognize that, despite their life experiences, they can sometimes get it wrong when it comes to race. When I saw it as the principal of the middle school, one of my main jobs was ensuring the safety and learning of our students through effective classroom management. We have several first-year teachers, and almost no one is good at classroom management in their first year. One teacher who reported to me never looked at me when I gave her feedback. I thought this was curious, but I never mentioned it until one day her behavior angered me. I was offering her some input on how to improve her teaching. And midway through my little speech, I stopped and asked, "Can you at least look at me when I'm talking?" She did not say anything in the moment, but went back to her class and did the best she could. Later that day, the teacher asked to see me in my office. She explains to me that as a person, her ESOL district and her culture, it was considerably rude and disrespectful to look at an order or a boss directly in the eyes. She was not trying to offer me. She was actually showing me respect. In response, I had shown in the wildness and boldness. I immediately apologized and thanked her for her course and intentionally in enabling me. Everyone can get wrong, and that's especially true when it comes to racial justice. The key is owning those mistakes, learning from them, and staying on the journey. In Matthew 7, Jesus confronts those who will self-righteousness judge the shortcomings of others while ignoring their own flaws. Why do you look at the spot of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? Matthew 7 verse 3. In our journey towards racial justice, we must always self-monitor for the ways we are re-entering racism, even if unintentionally, and seek to correct our attitudes and behaviors. This must be done even as we observe the world around us and attempt to correct the injustice for which others are responsible. As Jesus put it, "O hypocrite, first take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the spot from your brother's eye." Matthew 7 verse 5. White people must consensually cultivate humanity in order to acknowledge their complicity in racism and engage in a process of representatives and repair. Racism is designed to be invisible to white people. This is just the way things are, or this is the right way to do things. So when they are confronted by the reality of racism, it can often their sense of personal innocence. There is no way around this feeling. You have to go through a process of this construction in the ways white supremacy has swirled the condition in order to see the reality of race more clearly. For people of any race or identity, humanity is a key attitude in the work of racial justice. It takes humble honesty to consider one's shortcomings and still pursue the work of fighting racism. Humanity allows new information to correct old ideals and leads into us better ways of loving one another. Humanity forces us to deceive from our lateral pieces of self-justification to consider how our action or inaction can contribute to racism. Humanity undergives all the actions that govern one's life towards racial justice. Keep the light switch on. There's a big difference between a light switch and a smoke alarm. A light switch can be turned on and off. A smoke alarm is always on. Racial justice for white people is often like a light switch. You can turn it on or off wherever you feel like it. For people of color, racial justice is more like a smoke alarm. It always has to be on just to keep safe and avoid danger. Every day, people of color in the United States are reminded that they are different or other. They are reminded of their management stress when they try to hire a cab or lose a ride shell service. When someone tries to pronounce their name, when they are zoned for the particular school, when they receive a paycheck with a lower amount than their white people, when they see another instance of police brutality executed against someone looks like them. By contrast, white people may never think about themselves or their neighborhoods in racial terms. What happens or does not happen to them seems to be entirely a consequences, a chance, and personality decisions, which may hardly seem like a factor at all. Since race affects white people and people of color so differently, one of the most important racial justice practices is to remain conscious of race even when you had the option of not doing so. For white people, this demonstrates genuine solidarity with people of color. The House of Flesh Elias is intolerant to racial issues for a season or a month, and then going back to business as usual wherever conditions become inconvenient or uncomfortable. Racial justice is demonstrated not in the times when everyone is talking about race, but in those times when it will be easy or acceptable to overlook race. The only way to keep the racial justice light switch on is to step up structures and rotates that makes this possible. Do not rely on willpower alone. You can keep racial justice at the forefront by participating in groups, global book studies, activities, organizations, non-profits, and otherwise that make it a constant topic. Attending a trust that makes racial justice a core commitment will keep the issue up front. Meaningful friendships and professional relationships with people of color will also make their concerns more silent to low on a day-to-day basis. In the pages that follow, you will find racial justice practice that will help you attain an awareness of your entire life around racial justice. In time, these practices will hone your racial reflectors so you can respond knowledgeably and demonstrate to the diverse ways you will continue to accomplish injustice. Racial justice practice. Budget or time towards racial justice. The reasons more people do not actively oppose racial justice can be deep and complex, but sometimes they are fairly simple. To practice racial justice, you must make time for it. It takes time to attend meetings, print flyers, make phone calls, participate in a march, read books, and do all the tasks necessary for a life of racial justice activism. Most of us have too much to do and too little time. There are a lot of kind of time for racial justice. It's not only impediment, it is overwhelming. That is curious of what we must done. That what must be done. Getting serious about finding racial intel, adopting how you spend your time, and making room for justice concerns, just as you have to reverse your financial budget so you can make an important investment. You may have to shuffle your time and priorities to make investments in racial justice. You can start by looking at activities activities or organizations you want to engage in with and administrators and how much time you will need. Then look at those schedules to see how to make time for it. Between the hours many of us spend on social media or engaging in tasks that will show really delay or say no to. We can find more time for racial justice if we are internationally. Also remember that racial justice consists not simply in intentional action, but in internal reflection as well. The time you spend thinking, praying, and positioning is time that counts towards fighting racism too. Given significantly, the talent, the various from the word meaning and intent, the Bible, in the Bible, technically, technically means giving a portion of one's income or brought to work of God's kingdom. As far as Genesis, Moses gave Mr. Kenzad the king of Salem, a tenth of everything he owned. Genesis 14, verse 20. And Israelites were instructed to give a tenth of their resources to the main census of the temple and to support the liberties retaining the temple. The money was also to be used specifically to help the many designs in the opposition. When you have finished setting aside a tenth of all your producers in the third year, the year of the talent, you should get it to the living, the fatherless, and the window, so that they may eat in their talents and be satisfied. Deborah 26 verse 12. The people of God had a mandate to give a promotion of their wealth to the work of justice. But 10% service as a minimum, not a maximum for giving. What if you practice reverse tightening, giving away 90% and keeping 10% to live on? After the graduating from college, Graham Smith secured a lucrative job as an investment banker on Wall Street. People in this profession can easily make a six-figure salary even their first year, but with performances and suddenly, their salary increasing as do their bonus. But Smith remembered a warning from all of his professionals about golden handcuffs. The idea that one can be so tired to make money, living in mentality, comfort, life that turns a person preventingly from doing what may be less lucrative but more beneficial to themselves and others. Smith took this warning seriously, and instead of living lecturer like many of his peers, he calls it simple Einstein and anyone to live off 10% of his income. He gave away then the other 90% in effect, reversing the typing and teaching and numbers. In 2017, Smith and his wife opened P.S. Kinson, a regular restaurant that employs the formula increasingly and homeless, and they donate 100% of the profit to shadow work. Not everyone has the luxury of the salary laws enough to give away most of their income and still support themselves. But the principle of generous, family and giving is universal. It's still autonomy the barest amount possible. What are ways you or your organization can give rapidly county and scatter financially? In the previous chapter, we discussed parameters and what it might look like to support research and interesting in moral analysis without finesses. Without finesses. Those efforts focus on what the federal government and other organizations could do to help close the wealth gap and addresses and the hardships it produces. But you can also engage in racial justice practice at the individual level. What organizations, causes, or individuals involved in racial justice can you support through satisfactory giving? What is the most you can contribute rather than putting forward the minimum amount that makes you feel good about yourself? Be careful about refreshing races. The Puritans were a group of Christians who thought that the Church of England needed to be fulfilled because it was still too similar, in their view, to Roman Catholicism. In the early 1600s, a group of Protestants colonized in New England and sought to form communities that embodied their version of white religion and artistry. Unfortunately, many of the most content persons failed to turn their efforts at purifying the church to their own views of Native Americans and people of African descent. In 2012, spoken word artist Jason propaganda petty release precious portions in this poem. He called out pastors, uncensored relations, leaders, and violating the race-based character slavery and practicing discrimination towards racial and ethnic minorities. Will you court Colombians or to Cherokees? Will you court colleges to activists? Even if the largest was good. It's just science and blind privilege. Would you agree? Your precious politicians. Too many leaders who refuse their politicians being precious because of their lies contaminations, completely ignore or define the impact of such an action on racial and or minorities. How can a person of color or even another white person look to races as moral exemplars and marvels of culture? Hey, Pastor, I know it's hard for me when you quote Puritans. Oh, the precious Puritans. Had you not known our French expressions, one of brilliant and heartbreaking, like, not me too, Pastor. It is one manner to call people with racist views, whether the churches, classrooms, in the home or elsewhere. There's tolerance and education proposed. It is another manner to hold them up as people working on internalizing to the very groups they were had considered less than human. It is questionable for leaders to blindly court and promote racists such as Robert E. Lee, Jonathan Edwards, George Whitefield, and R.L. Donnelly without considering or even knowing they need to consider the impact of their racial views and actions. So be careful if you quote racists. Perfection cannot be the standard for learning from someone. If that were the case, we could not learn from anyone except Jesus. Anyone has made mistakes. But the point is not to cover over their failures as if they did not record. Not nor shall we plan to write supremacists as inspirational or moral or civil virtue. Don't overlook the racism of the people you might reference. To some instance, teaching about racism is unavoidable. If we want to talk about the politics foundations of the United States, you have to talk about George Washington and many unslaves. If we want to discuss the experiences of the Christian church in various parts of the world, we have to talk about the oppressors and indigenous peoples in the name of God. All of this should be put into context. We cannot change the record of leaders and history scholars as figures. We have abandoned racial views. What we can do is make sure these parts of their record are not just as much as the other parts. We can discuss the impact of their related actions on people who had less power, had less money, and were part of great considerations, mortalities, some or others. Too many people avoid talking about the shameful racial history of individuals or institutions out of the desire to dodge conflict or swirl around uncomfortable conversations. But when a person, when a Canadian, a member of racial or a Chilean moral level discovers that racial history, there is a feeling of betrayal and hurt. It is better to make on this topic the director that what drew the complexity of learning from Florida people than to pretend as if they were perfect. Of course, one productive way to move along this common is not to criticize racists at all. When people is vulnerable and learning about people who have racist figures because of their historic importance, there is no impediment to hold up such people as positive examples. There may be other people, not perfect, but vulnerable, who will be more helpful to consider instead of exerting incredible efforts to redeem the reputation of racist resources and shout about the people who fought racism, and other forms of injustice, committing to finding people who did not think only, segregated or impressioning people because of their racial or ethnic background is a vulnerable racial justice practice. It explains all representative of people to learn from beyond our simplified history negative. We should be careful about putting anyone on a pedestal, but surely there are better people than millennials to relate their unwillingness who dare racist. Refuse to platform racist. Pensacola, Georgia, is a small town of about 2,000 people, 45 minutes northwest of Atlanta. The town catapulted onto national headlines in 2019 with a shaded mower and a shaded councilman, old white, made racist remarks and revealed candidates for the city administration position Miller. There was this county who would keep Henry, a black man, for consideration because she allegedly said he is black, and the sheriff isn't ready for this. To add to the conversation, City Councilor Jim Cleveland expressing his views against interracial marriage, a short Lieutenant Now. an improperly commit during the interview. He said, I'm a Christian and my Christian beliefs are don't do interracial marriage. That's the way I was brought up, and that's the way I believe. People in Houston were understandably upset by the election, but both Conley and Cleveland resigned before it took place. The two city legislature racist views and comments resulted in a losing the privilege and elect office and leaving their neighbors. People who make allegedly racist comments or comment racist deeds and refuse to change should lose the privilege of their platform. What will your response be when a popular personally engaging in racism? Will you continue to reference their work? Will you promote their books and the charities? Will you cherish them in cinemas, presentations, or speechless? If we do, what does it communicate about how serious you think racism is? A common word for the proliferation of someone or refuse to promote their brand of work is canceling. Many people consider cancel culture as the positive response of oversensitive people or as the horizontal response of those for what Hurricane hereditary is all important. Some Christians whispered, Jesus never canceled me, so I won't cancel anymore. Social media essentially make it easy to pie on someone for their mistakes from a racial justice perspective. Though their punishment merely or cancel it does not refer to the person's very being. It concerns only their work and their influence. If someone openly traffics in racism, then they should not be given the privilege of a large endowment or the influences. The California should always make room for change and growth. Everyone deserves a chance to learn and repent. But until that happens, we should consider refusing to platform people who act in racist ways. What does it look like to refuse to platform racists on social media, refuse to retweet, or repost them? If they have put that for sale, refuse to buy them. If they are speaking of it at the concerts, contact the organizations and bring them sure to their intention. If they refuse to make a change in the lineup, consider not going, lose the money you will have spent on the conference or even to support a monetary legal organization. The point is to discourage racist behavior by losing your choice as a concern or support to create the construction pressure to change. These law platform productive. Colin Cutlernet broke records running and joining as a quarterback at the University of Nevada. And then he broke football by taking the knee during the national anthem. During the 2016 National Football League season, the 49ers single color chant during the national anthem to protest against the racism and, specifically, anti-black police brutality. His culture sparking an ongoing conversation. Some supported his sins as a public witness against injustice. Others condemned him for disrespecting the flag, the nation, and the armed forces. President Trump said in an interview, Certainly, the NFL should have suspended him for one game, and he would have never done it again. But I will tell you, you cannot disrespect our country, our flag, our anthem. You cannot do that. The consequences for Kaepernick's stand against the racism were far more severe than a one-game suspension. That quarterback had once led his team to the Super Bowl, has not played for the NFL team since early 2017. Kaepernick formally filed claims against the NFL for conducting to keep him off the teams because of the teams because of his policy incentives. He withdrew the claim in 2019 in exchange for the undisclosed amount. Kaepernick has continued in explaining his racial justice work, nailing the credibility given in his Know Your Rights count, which advocates the liberation and well-being of black and brown communities through education. Kaepernick stands in a line of athletes, from Muhammad Ali to Serena Williams, who lose their promotions as celebrities to advance the cause of racial justice. The incoherences in the face of racism sometimes cost them their jobs and the front of their careers. There are examples what it looks like to risk one's platform in order to fight racism. Very few people are attending to status of becoming a professional athlete, but you don't have to be an elite athlete or have hundreds or dozens of followers on social media to have a platform and to lose it for good. Everyone has influence, some have more than others, but each person can make an impact for racial justice. How did you know? How did you know it is time to lose low platforms for racial justice? Here are 4 times to do so. First, use low platform to bring issue director in a French law community. If an unarmed person of color is brutalized or killed by law enforcement in low city, if the management's popularity in low community, it's being discriminated against, or if someone in your faith community is experienced the environmental effect of racism, then your voice is valuable to make sure people know what you believe and who you stand. Second, if the promoting official or leader makes racial commitments, it may be time to raise your voices. People with larger platforms engage in racist actions way too clearly. Since they have lost in darkness, they can correct negative races that lead to prejudice and even violence. When this is the case, low laws and actions can help correct the continuing and counter-generate that promotes racial justice. Third, if someone follows a violence, political, or relations group is prominent in the cause of racial justice, consider making a public statement. While we cannot account for the actions of anyone with who we share flashes, we can make it clear that others within that race same group hold different views and want to fight racism. Fourth, use your platform for racial justice when the issue of incidents grips you and won't let go. We are all affected in different ways by different events. What prices your heart may be unknown to others, and it is up to you to bring attention to the injustice. Follow consensus shaped by a justice-loving community and speak and act in solidarity with an oppressed person. Here are a few steps to help law understand law personal influence and use it to promote racial justice. First, determine law platform. It may not be large. It could be law in million family, low workplace, or low faith community. But everyone has a spell or influence. Those with bigger platforms have a more conspicuous voice, and their voices are more conspicuous access when they do not speak up about racial justice. This is not just for white people. People of color have platforms. They should import it for racial justice as well. Some people of color have to deal with racism every day in numerous ways. Their responsibility is different, and they should take their mental and emotional capacity into account before sharing. Second, be public about it. A platform is public by nature, so positively using the platform necessitates taking a public stance. This is not about private conversations or behind the scenes efforts. Using the platform for the cause of racial justice means people know where you stand because you have broadcast it in some way. This is not about voting centrally and saying, look at what a good person I am. It is about being willing to risk low platform, low influence, low reputation for the sake of racial justice. Third, when you take the stance, your deal the lines to make sure we are saying the right things in the right way. When Colin Cabinet decided to protest during the ending, he discussing the ideals with the trust colleague, including a military veteran, and spent time learning about the issues. Build your awareness of racial justice and evolving its further relationships with people from different backgrounds, as always to prepare for using your platform for racial justice. Finally, prepare for the reaction. Prepare for the reaction. There will be those who question why you're making this about race. Others who will want to argue illness about a particular turn of phrase or song or one part of your actions rather than intending to engender trust or what you're trying to say. Some will disvalue you and refuse to listen to love music, read blog posts, follow you on social media, or perhaps even talk to you because of your sentence for racial justice, but you should be prepared for positional reactions too. The benefit of using law platforms for racial justice is that people of color feel seen and heard. White people can be challenging in a good way and can rethink their acceleration. But no matter the reaction or the ritual or perception to negative response, using law platform to promote racial justice is simply the right thing to do. Support moral or lead business. We have numerous opportunities to demonstrate commitments to racial justice through the ways we spend money and which business we profit of fund. The next time law business club, the next time law business club or church has an event, internationally choose to have a moral on of their business called the fact session. If we need music, consider people of color for the artist. If we need to commission a logo or a t-shirt design, use a graphic design service from a person of color. If we need global economy or legal services, seek out people of color to financially support their business. You may even consider paying slightly more in the form of a tip or a bonus to offset the financial inconvenience that many people of color face when we're running their own businesses. Take your talent to morally owned or legal organizations. Harvard University, a historic colony, like college or universities, HBCU had a basketball team that had not been to the NCAA tournament in 30 years, and that won just 4 games in the 2019 season. Then in the summer of 2020, they scored a huge win when the five-star recorder Malcolm Markle came into the Boston. The 7-foot tall star explained his decision on Twitter. I need to make the HBCU movement real so that others will follow. Maker has his pick of the elite basketball programs at predominantly white universities, but he chooses to take his talents to the HBCU in order to be in an environment supported of resource and athletic modalities, and to bring attention to colleges and universities that have played a prominent role in the black community for decades. Black people and the other people of color may need to follow Marco's example by taking their skills, talents, and expertise to moderate on or legal organizations. Resource and other monetaries should consider the difficulties that many morality on or legal organizations had incorporated, taught their talent, and secure financial resources for their mission. If more people of color choose to attend school or work for these institutions, we could breathe new life into their work. Where we white priests, fundraise, or design, what will happen if we commit to support other people of color? This is a costly decision. You will likely make less money, working more instruction, and receive criticism for what decision. But you also devote the time and energy to organizations and consumers of that need you. You could be part of a movement that transforms the landscape of those fields so that warrior online or lead organizations because the first choice for people instead of a last resort. Support candidates committed to racial justice or one of those. Throughout this book, we have looked at the ways political power has been used and measured in relations to racial justice. Overturning although life towards racial justice must entail an ongoing involvement at the policy level. But you may never attempt accidentally run for the elect office yourself. Our political campaigns from the local to the largest national effort depend on the volunteers for success. You can volunteer to knock on doors, make phone calls, or contribute special skills such as accounting, or legal expresses to the campaign. Do you know right? Do you write? Consider composing or for local newspapers supporting a political policy or politician candidate donating money remains one of the most consistent and important ways to support a political campaign that you believe stands for positional change. We have probably seen to court. Be the change you wish to see in the war. It is on a bumper sticker. It is on bumper stickers, signs, and coffee mugs. It is Scotland Crudup. There is probably enough what Grandpa actually said. His original quote is even more helpful if we can change ourselves. The terminators in the war will also change, as the man changed his own nature. So does the attitude of the world change towards him. We need not want to see what others do. Too often in racial justice work, we focus on criticism and calling out. For some, this seems to be a full-time vacation. At some point, however, we need to get involved in making the changes we said need to happen. Some people committed to fighting racism may need to consider running for elect office. By holding an elect office, you become someone who has crafted the laws that shape our racial reality. While many interested think of national office in Congress, the opportunity for public policy work are immense, especially at the local level, from school board to city council, from district authority to county commissioner, from sheriff to judge, from state representatives to city clerks. Which office you want for depends on our express, your interests, and the kind of support you think you can generate. Running for office is a massive undertaking and should not be taken uncannily. It will cost you time, money, and energy to run the campaign. And that's just the beginning. If we win, then much more work and charisma are coming your way. Many resources exist to help you get started, depending on state and policy learnings. Coaches will express and advise. Listen to Lord potential constructors to form and plan funds, seeking input from people with fundraising and campaign management experiences. Running for office may sound controversial to those who think people of faith should stay out of politics, but most people at the national level claim some kind of richness tradition. In the 116th Congress, 53.7% of the House of Representatives is Protestant Christians, 32.5% in Colorado, 6% are Jewish, with Honduras, Moses, Bloodheads, and other representatives there as well. Of us senators, 60% indifferent as protesters or protesters, 22% are Coloradans, 4% are Mourners, with Jews and the Baltimoreans, among others, represented as well. According to the standard test, in fact, religion is overrepresented among elect officials at the national level compared to the general popularity. Of course, there are important considerations besides the logic of running for office. If you are a person of faith, should pastors and maids rabbis And other relations leaders run for that office as people who represent the communities with valid politics views, formerly affected with a political party in a that position may now some members of their relations like and impair their ability to learn. It may also be difficult to pursue nor need people to join the relational community if the leader is seen as someone who supports in a party or a point of view. Although being an achievement, elect officials as a relation person can impose equal cleanliness, there is still a general need, which of course includes those without any fundamental relations and factor for people of profession and how more standards to running for office. We consider when you send little kids to school, non-call handling, John's practice where she preaches. She lives in the Bedford Development neighborhood of New York City. The public schools there originally score poorly on state standards and evaluations. The student population of these schools is almost intentionally comprised of black and Latino children who are low income. As such, a food in the mid-class representatives of neighborhood send their children to the local public schools. Hannah Jones and her husband could have followed the crowd and sent their child to a primarily white and better resources school. The choice had profound implications, not just for her as a parent, but for her work as an investigative reporter, researching racial segregation in public schools, passing declarational policies around school funding and outright racism have all contribution to the segregation state of public schooling. Thus, segment change was necessary, but Hannah Jones also believed that parents' choices about what to send their kids to school could uphold their sexual statement or opposing it. One family or even a few families cannot transfer a segregation to school. But if none of us were willing to go into them, nothing will change. She said, Hannah Jones and her husband decided to enroll their daughter in a local public school because only by racism and economically integrated public schools or the racist stands do things even though we had to propose more equal funding for public schools. The problem is not just an issue of money, it is a matter of posting the common good and making sure schools work for all children, not just for all. According to Hannah Jones, true intelligence, true equality, who cause and surrendering are advantage. But when it comes to our own children, they can feel almost unnatural. Every parent of school-age children must face the choices of where to send their children to school and what that means for racial segregation in schools. Schools that are regularly white get more resources. Race calories and economically integrating public schools will ensure that middle and upper class parents will bring their resources and intended to improve the schools their children attend. As long as people who can afford the financial and social costs of education schools send their children to separate schools, which inequality will remain in the system. Parents must seriously consider the value of the racial intimidation in comparison with better material offerings at other schools. It will even be a sacrifice single child to a school with fewer resources, but it is a choice that many parents have no choice but to make. It may be that universal justice journey includes talking to bond step of sending all the children to the less prestigious school in order to help write a new story about integration and achievement in our public schools. Ensuring local schools practice racial justice. Regardless of whether you send your kids to school or even if you have kids at all, you can ensure that your local schools are building racial justice into their combination. And whereas once has been for help leading up to a meeting, she was happening with administrators. I hope like she accounts potential at school. She wondered what question she should ask, and if anyone has sent her the following list that you might want to ask all local schools. How and where does the Polynesian specifically addresses Black history, Native American history, and histories of other people of color? What training to teachers receiving are concentrally responding, teaching, and working with racial and Atlantic Morris students and families? Are there written protocols and guidelines for addressing hate speech and racial incidents, including cyberbullying at the school? What is the racial athletic composition of the school board, factory, staff, support staff? Anyone on the payroll? What is the retention rate, tumor of racial athletic minority factory, and staff compared to their white peers? How do wages, salary, and bonus compare? How do you consider how racial and athletic military classes instead of one or two at a time? Do you try and accumulate detail about racial and athletic demographics? How are Black students and students of color doing in relations to white students? Do you try discipline, suspensions, and expulsions of race activity? How do those data compare across demographics? How you have focus groups when parents and guardians of color get a chance to see into school practice and climate? What do you learn from other schools or institutions about racial justice best practices? How do you consider forming a standing community or racial awareness and responsiveness so you can be proactive about racial justice and not always react it? These questions in modified form can be asked on any court, sports teams, nonprofit, or organization to ensure they are practicing racial justice. Our winner of love light towards racial justice requires consensus reflection and action. It is not a one-time decision. In community with others who share the same concerns, we need to consider properly our practice to refine are opposed to fighting racism. The ARC of Racial Justice reminds us that we need consensus to contend to change in racial policies. We all have the responsibility daily to decide to take another step on the journey towards racial justice. And now to the conclusion. I begin this book by introducing me to Fiona Lewis and often and grasping into her life ever since. Hammer is multiple of what it means to be a faithful fighter for racial justice. She dedicated years of her life to pursue equality and genuinely for black people and the poor. And her Christian faith was not as accounting to her adversity, but entangling into it. She once said, "That's why I love the song, This Little Light of Mine. I don't mind my light shining. I don't hide that I'm fighting for freedom because Christ died to set us free." Her course in the face of white supremacy should inspire us all to confront rather than compromise with racism. In March of 1977, doctors admitted formally to Marlboro Community Hospital, staffing attended by black people, when it was founded in 1942 with a combination of issues arise from diabetes, cancer, and heart disease. Jim Johnson, a close friend, was one of the last people to see her alive. She thought she was so tall. She wanted all of us to remember her and said to keep up the walk. Johnson recalled, "Not for all Freeman Lee Hammer labels. Can we say she succeeded? Was she effective in her struggle for freedom? We have seen that her trained passions are secure voting rights and disciplinary physicality and elementary poverty has still not been realized. In her life, she gained the respect of many. On her deathbed, she had few people around her and even less money to help ease her discomfort. And assassinate Warren Brooks. Warren Brooks had to raise the money to pay for her funeral. The value of fighting racism cannot be gathered simply by looking at the number of laws passed or innovations elected. It cannot be measured in funds raised, or in how many members or organization has. These data points matter, but they are not all that matter. Fighting racism is not just about how to change the world. It's also about how it changed you. When I began internationally dedicating my time, experiences, and energy to fighting racism, my life did not become easier. In many ways, it became harder. I opened myself up to the arguments and attacks. Relationships became stimulated, and some were broken. In paying closer attention to racial injustice and feeling the pain of it more equally. I became in some ways like these male souls. Prophet Isaiah described it. Isaiah 53 verse 5. But the traveler of this journey of racial justice have brought me a deeper sense of three realities: God's presence, community, the community of code labels, and my destiny, Pharaoh Louis Hammer said that when she got involved in the struggle for freedom, she understood God's presence better and felt God's readiness and sustained strength more clearly. It's a funny thing since I started walking for Christ. It's kind of like the 20 door of Psalms where he says, Thou prepare a table before me and with the presence of my enemies. Thou art my head with oil and my cup running over. As difficult as Hammer's life had been before the day she returned to register for the first time, it got exponentially more difficult thereafter. People shot at her house. Officers beat her in a Mississippi jail, and she faced a larger cross in the county for civil rights. God did not make her life easier when she partly took on the cause of racial justice, but God did make himself known. I think I had grown in my understanding of this principle as well. In the times when I have felt most bothered by the bosses about this world, Christ has come alongside to make the look easy and the abundant life. Matthew 11 verse 30. Although the fight for racial justice has eliminated me from son, it has brought me into community with many others. I started what became the witness, a black Christian collective. Late one night sitting alone at my dining room table, nearly a decade later, we had a team of people who had become like family and with whom I worked shoulder to shoulder in this effort for equality. My church now includes not just the people in my local congregation, but the community of people across the country and even on different continents striving to love God and neighbor. The cannibalized allyship I have felt on this journey can only be experienced for the winter the struggle for justice. Fighting for racial justice has taught me more about me. I am far more figurative than I had to admit. I had suggested the same personalization and judgment chances that I do Chris in others. I get tired, frustrated, angry. I had also discovered reservations applied and temperament relations. I learned to ask for help when I needed. I had glaring lessons from others about how to learn for justice and still had joy at the same time. This can all be true for you too. To the transplantations, those who warned about what taking the bold steps down this journey of racial justice might cost them. Know this, the only way to glory is to go. The only way to increase your course, perseverance, and skills to get started, you will need to be able to packaging these chapters are instance. They are only gained by doing. So get started. These steps do not have to be lost, but if you keep going, baby steps turn into long strides towards freedom. Let me take this pressure off. You will make mistakes. You will stumble and perhaps fall at times. But failure is not in the fall, but in where you stay down. To those important travelers all have already been triangles along the rail for years. Know this, you are already affecting. You may have particular goals and mentors that had not been met, and that can be discouraging, but you have already succeeded because you get started. Think back to the history of this month, of this nation. How many people choose compulsory and compassionate rather than taking it up the cause of racial justice? How many people let others do all the work while they sat secretly in their silence? You are one of the few people. You are one of the few who choose to take on the risk of fighting racism. And in that decision, we have already achieved a victory. We cannot give up. We are people of hope. Hope is not blind opposite. It is a relational assessment of chronic conditions with the faith that tomorrow can be different. We are people who believe that a brutal, unjustified mortal resulting in a vicious resurrection. We believe that a poor caterpillar from Nazareth from colder death and is fun at people who will join in this trouble. Every day, each day that we live is the opportunity to be witness. Each day that we live is the opportunity to be witness to the resurrection, life, and the coming of the kingdom of God. We pray and work for that kingdom, time, and for God's will to be done, not just in the street by and by, but right here and now. The journey for racial justice communities. But the music we hear along the way is not feeling negra. It is a festival music leading us to the banquet of blessing and the heaviness of righteousness. Today is the day, and now is the time to join this joy towards racial justice. That's the end of the final chapter of this book and the conclusion. And this is the end of the series called How to Fight Racism. We thank you so much for coming. We thank you so much for watching me read this book on the YouTube channel. And, of course, on the Joseph Curry Show. And this is my storybook. I'm Joseph Curry. God bless. God bless each and every one of you. And enjoy life.